See you in the land of Mordor, death awaits you at the border. Pass on through the gates of fun, destroy the ring of power and wonder. Shadows increasing, beast throughout the land is ceasing. Evil mist flows through the valley, silence wailing, never ceasing.
Hey, fans of Middle-earth role-playing, Roman Daisel here. I'm going to be doing another ranking this time. This time we're going to do the 9 adventure module books that came out in the 80s. There are only 9 books, so this will be a shorter list, and we'll go from worst to first like usual. Starting up, the worst book of this series was the Braganza Merckwood. I could not find a damn use for this book any time when I played. Even reading it was kind of hard, going through it and trying to work it out with the rest of the modules. It never worked for me. I would have preferred something better or another location. The whole idea of the Braganza Merckwood didn't seem all that great, especially when considering that the old road was far to the north. In the East Bight, not a lot of trade goes through the East Bight to the North Undeeps. So I wasn't too enamored with the whole idea. The layout of the city was okay, the back cover and the location. Just didn't have any, couldn't find any use for this. Maybe if you take those layouts and put them in another location, like a Skilliath or somewhere down south, it would have worked a lot better. Or even in Dorwinian, but all in all, I wasn't a big fan of this book or the adventures within it. Next up, in 8th place comes Rivendell, the House of Elrond. I have nothing against Elrond, and there's a lot of details. It was good reading. The only problem is it's boring. You cannot have an adventure in the House of Elrond. It just isn't possible unless you're an evil character trying to steal something, which isn't likely to happen. You do not just walk into Rivendell if you're evil. Even the Nazgul can't breach its defenses. Only Sauron, if he had the One Ring, could possibly do it. So it's not somewhere you adventure in. It's just somewhere where you rest. You get to, you take a few days, or probably more like weeks or months, to relax, get all the information from the Library of Elrond, some advice, which doesn't always work, because even the best advice can go awry, or the best well-laid plans in Rivendell can go sideways once you start the path. What happened to Thorin and company. So overall, it was the cover was pretty cool. Of course, the Nazgul never even got that close to Rivendell. They wouldn't have been able to see it, that's for sure. But it is a pretty cool art cover. So a pretty boring book all in all. Next up, number 7, Eric and the Past of the Dead. I think the Past of the Dead were pretty cool, pretty basic in this book. Again, it's one of those places where you cannot really get into. And there's no hope in hell of any low-level or mid-level adventurers going through. Like Aragorn led Gimli and Legolas and the Grey Company through strength of will. So you need someone with strong will. An elf could probably go through. I'm surprised elves haven't gone through there to find out what's there, if they don't fear the dead. Because Aragorn didn't seem like he had that hard of a time going through there. Like as far as like obstacles, there were no real obstacles in front of him. He just didn't go through the doors. He wasn't trying to steal anything. So if you go through there, if you have a strong will, you're not afraid of the dead, and you keep your hands in your pockets, you'll do fine. As far as the surrounding area goes, it's kind of a backwater part of Gondor. So it's not really anything we would really adventure in. But the backstory and the geography and the descriptions were fairly good. So it's not a bad module. The Past of the Dead would be more accessible after the War of the Ring. And you go through because the dead are gone now. You go through and find out what's behind the closed doors now. So that is possible. So the opportunity is there. Number 6. Dagger Lad and the Dead Marshes. Again, this is a region I thought you're not going to go in the Dead Marshes looking for stuff. you're more likely to be dead. So it wasn't somewhere I would send a party into. Like Gollum is about the only guy who's ever really survived a passage through the dead marshes. He did it twice. He found all the ways because he has nothing to fear, nothing to lose. And he was able to take Frodo and Sam with him, and then even that almost ended in disaster. Frodo almost lost it there. So to adventure within there, though I'm sure there's probably ruins in there. I think it'd be better as a 4th age module once the Saronic influences are gone and the orcs have been cleared out. You could probably find stuff in there. I'm sure the dead marshes you could try drain it. But as far as adventuring goes, there's a few adventures in there. Of course, you got your typical evil person in the middle of it all, and I just didn't find it all that interesting as far as adventure goes. I like the maps that came with it, though. Okay, number 5, getting into the better stuff. Goblin Gate and Eagle's Eyrie. I like the backstory and the layouts for this book. The military stats. Again, it's a place it's going to be hard to get into if you're mid to low to mid level. Even a higher level person would have a hard time getting in. It's one of those things where you get in more by luck than skill. Or if you're captured. The dwarves would have sacked it during the war between the dwarves and the orcs. After War of the Ring, it would probably be more accessible to go and wipe out the remaining goblins and orcs and find out what they're hiding again. Though the dwarves would have ransacked it years ago. And it's fun. You could try and find Gollum and that stuff. So, a very interesting read. It was, which is why I liked it. At number 4, we have Thieves of Tharbad. I love this book because the city of Tharbad is an interesting place. It's a ruin by the time War of the Ring comes around, but it's still... But the book itself is set in a different time period than most books, 1409, which is just after the disaster of the Tyrant Gorthad, when Angmar destroyed Amansul and basically killed the last king or prince of Cardolan and ravaged most of northern Cardolan and parts of Arthedain. So it is a very interesting time period. There's a good backstory as well as adventures in there. And I just found it a very interesting book. It was fun to play in. Has military stats from that time period, what's left, what was there. It gives a very good descriptions. So I really liked it. Number 3, Shellabs Lair and the Tower of Cirith Ungol. I like this book because Shellab is, even though you're not going to survive a meeting with Shellab unless you're a very high level player or just lucky like Sam and Frodo and Gollum. You're not going to get... It's going to be hard to get through her lair, but again, she's not everywhere at once. So it is possible to get around her at times. And there'd be lots of treasure over the years, like old stuff, lying around in any one of her little pantries. If you have a sword capable of cutting through the spider webs. Again, luck plays a key role. The Tower of Cirith Ungol, you could play it at different times and eras. 4th Age would be, after War of the Ring, the 4th Age would be the most interesting to go back to because Shellab's hurt. She's at her most vulnerable, but she'd definitely be blinded and would be harder for her to catch food. But I imagine she'd be spinning her webs again, but she'd be more vulnerable to attack from large parties. You can rebuild the Tower of Cirith Ungol, go back through there. And the whole timeline, like you'd be at Cirith Ungol at any time during the 3rd Age. So it is an interesting book. I love reading the designs and all that. And the military tables for the garrison. So a very interesting book. The maps were good too. Like I remember the maps. Next up, number 2, Bree and the Barrowdowns. I like the description of Bree and the surrounding area. Gives a good layouts and all that. Bree is an important place, both in the Lord of the Rings. So Bree during the Arthedanian period is a very interesting point because it is on the crossroads. So there'd be a lot of interesting stuff going on. There'd be brigands around the surrounding area, especially in the Cardolani border. The Barrowdowns, of course, are a major interesting site. Any tombs are. And these ones you have a good chance of actually, A low-level party, no, but a mid-level party could survive the Barrowdowns. Also, I like the description of each individual barrels and wonder why they didn't cleanse the barrels long ago and take the money. So it is interesting. The fourth age would make it more interesting too. But I like all the descriptions. It was good reading. Excellent reading. The maps were good. The adventures were fairly good. Alright, and at number 1 we have Hillman of the Trollshaws. This is essentially the Rivendell campaign book. This should have been expanded upon. I like the maps. I like the layouts of Cameth Bryn and the barracks town, as well as the surrounding countryside. Gives good military layouts, so you get a lot of that. So you can basically, this book basically helps you build the Rivendell army, how it would have looked at any time in the Third Age. Just different composition of troops. So an excellent read, a lot of information on a region that never really gets, Tolkien never really went into. And you can play 3 different time periods. And there's a host of different scenarios that you could play. So it was really an interesting book. So that's my ranking for the adventure modules that ICE put out between 1984 and 1987. They stopped making these type of books and went with a smaller adventure format. And we'll get into those next. So there we are, all 9 adventure module books ranked by me, Roman Daisel. All you other fans out there of this game system, let me know how you guys would rank these. Do you agree with my choice for worst, and do you agree with my choice for best? Leave comments in the comment section, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Until next time, this is Roman Daisel. I am out of here.